We eating like it's Thanksgiving, nigga, get your weight up. Serving them whole pies, but I ain't a waiter. Bottles on deck, catching waves like Kelly Slater. They got their hands out, but I ain't doing favors.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Berty. This is my first time doing reaction videos or any YouTube videos. And today we talk about Scene's official channel, the story of Marlo and Mike, the hitman from Baton. I really don't know nothing about Mike, and I kind of found this story on one of my recommendations, and I've decided to check it out. And not gonna lie, it was interesting, so I decided to do the reaction on it. And I didn't go all the way through because I didn't know if it was real or not, but we're gonna get to it, so we gonna give our opinion and see how it's gonna go because
Fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support I received from you. And as always, all the information in my videos is rumors taken from the internet or the street. I'm not saying the information is fact.
Pick your mans up. Just because people used to come through shooting us every day. Yeah, this block, words can't even explain. Can't even explain. Yeah, man. Let's go to Valley on fire by your money. Your money, man. They in the building. 600 boy, LA, man. LA Capone, man. Get to him, man. Those are two boys, man. Marlo, number 9, man. Number 9, shit on him. Hey, bitch, yeah! Fucking wrong with you? Hey, I am Brick Squad! Brick Squad, boy, fucking you came out, man!
and bro, this is not gonna lie, this is a crazy story. Like the details, bro, the details are crazy. And I just had one question, literally one question.
To be willing to die or go to jail for 100 years if that's the lane that you're stepping in. You have to understand that whether you're 15, 16, you got to think like a man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're not? Why does everybody say you're only 16 years old?
How old
are you?
300.
The story of Marlo Mike. Michael Louding, better known as Marlo Mike, was a product of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the unforgiving environment that shaped him. Born around 1995, he grew up in the projects of Baton Rouge, where poverty, violence, and crime were distant problems but an everyday reality. His childhood was marked by hardship, an overcrowded household, little money, and a community weighed down by struggle. Like countless others raised in those conditions, he faced pressures and dangers most people can't imagine. But unlike most, his path became one of violence that left a permanent mark on the city. By the time he was just 15 years old, Louding's name was already associated with death. He had developed a reputation as one of Baton Rouge's most feared young killers, accused of being responsible for 9 murders before even reaching adulthood. To call him dangerous would be an understatement. He was referred to by some as a demon or an angel of death, labels that reflected the brutality of his actions. To carry that kind of weight, to take that many lives at such a young age, is horrifying on every level, both for the victims and for the reality of a child becoming an executioner. Part of understanding who he became means understanding where he came from. Louding's upbringing was surrounded by violence long before he ever picked up a gun. As a young adolescent, he witnessed a killing firsthand, an image that never left him, a trauma impossible to shake. Experiences like that are enough to fracture anyone, but in his world, trauma didn't lead to healing or counseling. It hardened people. It distorted childhood into something unrecognizable. For a kid who barely had the chance to know stability, this kind of environment shaped his view of life, death, and survival. What happened?
Now, the big question is, where in the hell was your parents?
Nigga, where your mom at, nigga? Hey, nigga, where your mom at, nigga? Where your mom at?
Cause boy, I swear to God, I would've got the way I would've got my ass beat if I was around the environment like that. The ass whooping I would've got was the ass whooping I would call the ass whooping of your life.
Happened to Marlo Mike isn't just about one person, it's a reflection of an entire environment that produces stories like his. Growing up in such conditions scars mental health, disrupts education, twists coping mechanisms, and can push children toward paths they were never supposed to walk. His story, as brutal as it is, serves as a chilling reminder of what happens when violence becomes a child's teacher.
See, now this is what a lot of people be talking about, like the Black Parenthood, bro. Like, cause at one point it's like you have mother and father, and then out of nowhere you don't have nothing besides the goddamn streets. And it's like sometimes they say it's how you educate your kids. That's how your kids come out. But a lot of times it's what you do around your kids or what your kids see. That's how they gonna come out. That's how they gonna act. And the more they act like that, the more you don't correct them, the more they're gonna keep going on down that goddamn path. Like, bro, this story is sad. Like, I got a lot of siblings, and if I see one of them going down this path, let me not even say nothing else.
Michael Loudon's nickname, Marlo Mike, came directly from the infamous character Marlo Stanfield in The Wire, a cold, calculating figure known for both his body count and his ability to outmaneuver the police. The nickname wasn't just given at random, it reflected the path he was already walking. In school, Loudon struggled almost from the start. His academics were weak, and given the circumstances of his environment, this wasn't unusual. Kids growing up in poverty, surrounded by violence, often find it difficult to focus in the classroom when survival is the more pressing concern. Still, there were glimpses of potential. At one point, he attended a military-style program designed for troubled youth. The discipline and structure of that environment gave him a brief sense of stability. It provided a routine, something he hadn't known before, and for a while, he managed to do better. But the program was temporary, and once it ended, Loudon was thrown back into the chaos of the regular public school system. Without the structure, his progress collapsed. Eventually, he was expelled from middle school after being caught with a gun on campus, a decision that pushed him even further away from any kind of normal adolescence. Mike had a reputation for anger issues, but according to family members, he wasn't always violent. They described him as a boy who didn't lash out physically at others, at least not in his younger years. But time changed him. The older he got, the more he spiraled into the streets, and the more the streets shaped him. His juvenile record grew quickly, filled with run-ins with the law. His mother saw the signs and was worried. Mike admitted to her that he heard voices in his head, something she desperately wanted him to get help for. But he refused, rejecting the idea of treatment or intervention. As his world grew darker, he found a mentor and father figure in Baton Rouge rapper Lil Boosie. By the age of 14, Marlo Mike was living with Boosie, who legally became his guardian. The relationship between the two was complex. Boosie saw him as a son, while the streets viewed him as something else entirely, Boosie's alleged hitman. Even as just a teenager, Mike had already built a reputation as a stone-cold killer, someone who carried out murders with a level of detachment that terrified both his enemies and the community around him. Torrance Ivy Hatch Jr., better known by his stage name Boosie Badazz, formerly Lil Boosie, was born on November 14, 1982, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A central figure in Southern hip-hop, Boosie came up in the 1990s as part of the rap collective Concentration Camp before striking out on his own with the release of his debut album Youngest of the Camp in 2000. Soon after, he linked up with the late Pimp C's label, Trill Entertainment, dropping his second studio album For My Thugs in 2002. Over the years, Boosie would cement himself as one of the defining voices of Baton Rouge rap, releasing 7 solo albums, 6 collaborative projects, and dozens of mixtapes, making his name synonymous with raw, street-centered lyricism. Boosie wasn't just a rapper in the eyes of Baton Rouge, he was an icon, and for young people like Marlo Louding, he was larger than life. When Marlo was just 14, Boosie took him in, serving as a mentor and legal guardian. To Marlo, Boosie wasn't just a rapper he looked up to, he was a father figure. But the environment around Boosie, and the lifestyle he lived, didn't provide the stability someone like Marlo desperately needed. Instead of pulling him away from negative influences, it threw him deeper into the same destructive cycle.
See, that's what I was just saying. Sometimes it's not what you teach them. It's what type of environment, what they see. That's how, like, if that's what they see every day, what else do you expect them to do? How else do you expect them to act?
Being unstable himself, Marlo was surrounded by others facing their own demons, and those influences only fueled what was already a dangerous path. Meanwhile, Boosie's own life was unraveling under the weight of his legal troubles. In October 2008, he was arrested after police found marijuana and a Glock in his car. A year later, on September 22, 2009, he pled guilty to his third offense, possession of marijuana. The next day, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Things only got worse when Judge Chip Moore doubled the sentence after determining Boosie had violated probation while awaiting sentencing. During this period, he was placed under electronic monitoring and house arrest, caught in a legal battle that would drag his name deeper into controversy. For Marlo Mike, living under Boosie's wing meant being tied not only to his music and reputation but also to his criminal entanglements. What might have been intended as mentorship became something much darker, eventually linking the young teenager to crimes that would define the rest of his short-lived freedom. Michael Marlo McLeod grew up with constant run-ins with the law. As a juvenile, he was arrested numerous times for charges such as simple battery, criminal mischief, unlawful entry, resisting an officer, criminal damage to property, and possession of dangerous substances. On top of that, he was tied to robberies, gun possession, and other violent crimes. Selling drugs became his main source of income, and whatever money he made usually went toward feeding his habits, weed and lean being his drugs of choice. His addiction ran so deep that he even admitted to killing someone for $2,800, just so he could buy more. On October 21, 2009, his most infamous crime took place. At midnight, 6 rounds from a 9mm handgun were fired through the front window of a house on Vermilion Drive. Inside, 35-year-old Terry Boyd was struck and killed instantly, collapsing on a brown leather couch that quickly soaked in blood. Neighbors reported seeing 2 men running toward the train tracks nearby. Boyd had only recently returned home after serving a 5-year sentence at Winfield Correctional Facility, having been out for just a month. When police searched the scene, they found a disposable camera, $402 in cash, and traces of morphine, marijuana, and codeine in Boyd's system.
Watch who you hang with. Watch who you surround yourself with. Because, especially on this street shit, bro, it's either death But like they say, breathe on.
The murder of Terry Boyd quickly spiraled into something far bigger than just another killing in Baton Rouge. Lil Boosie himself was charged with first-degree murder, prosecutors alleging that he had ordered Boyd's death for $2,800, a hit carried out by Marlo Mike. According to their case, it was the act of a teenage hitman tormented by the voices in his head, voices that screamed one command over and over: kill. Boosie's defense team, led by attorney Jason Williams, pushed back hard against the accusations, maintaining his innocence and claiming that Marlo had not been acting on Boosie's orders at all. Instead, Williams argued that the crime had been tied to Michael "Ghost" Judson and Adrian Pittman, pointing to their own motives. Just weeks before Boyd's murder, Ghost had been robbed for $720, supposedly by Boyd, while Pittman was said to have carried a long-standing grudge against him. In the hours before the shooting, Boosie, Pittman, and Ghost had been discussing a letter that Pittman received from Angola inmate Lee Lucas. The letter claimed that Boyd had been making threats from behind bars, promising to settle scores once he got out and specifically naming Boosie as a target. That night, prosecutors said, Boosie told the others he would put up $25,000 to have Boyd killed. Later that night, Adrian Pittman drove Marlo Mike and Michael "Ghost" Judson to North Stevendale Road, near Vermilion Drive. Pittman stayed close in his van while the two went to track down Boyd. Once Ghost spotted him inside the house, Marlo opened fire through the window, striking Boyd and ending his life instantly. Afterward, Pittman picked them up and drove back to Boosie's residence. There, according to testimony, Boosie handed Marlo Mike $2,800 for carrying out the hit. Pittman later testified in court, admitting his role and pointing to Ghost and Mike as the ones who carried out the shooting. Prosecutors also introduced evidence connecting Marlo to 4 other ambush-style shootings, building a larger picture of his violent pattern. Without DNA or direct eyewitnesses, the state's case leaned heavily on a taped jailhouse confession from Marlo Mike, as well as cell phone records placing him at Boosie's recording studio before and after the murder. Additional evidence included a tattoo Marlo allegedly got just weeks later, an AK-47 paired with the phrase "Yo Boosie, who's next?" and lyrics from Boosie's own tracks, 187 and Body Bag, recorded on the night Boyd was killed. Prosecutors framed the motive around a letter Boosie supposedly received, warning that Terry Boyd planned to jack and slap him after his release from prison. The defense countered that no such letter ever existed, insisting instead that Boosie and Boyd were on good terms, pointing out that Boosie even had a child with Boyd's sister.
No, that's crazy. Like you see how you niggas be getting caught up? Because y'all be doing shit and then niggas go tattoo it on their body, go post it this, post that, or do this and that. And then boom, when y'all get caught, y'all be thinking somebody snitched this. And the whole time y'all snitching yourself, bro.
Nasty.
Like literally, y'all be ratting in your own self, bro. Y'all you niggas, y'all don't even know what the real meaning of being niggas no more.
Beyond the murder of Terry Boyd, Marlo Mike was tied to 5 more killings, all committed within a 14-month window, a spree that left a bloody mark on Baton Rouge. Among the victims was local rapper Chris Jackson, better known as Newsy, who was gunned down inside a home on America Street on February 9, 2009. In videotaped statements given to authorities, Marlo Mike claimed that Lil Boosie wanted Nusi stamped out due to an ongoing feud between the two. According to Mike, it was Ghost who relayed Boosie's wishes to him. By the time Mike revealed this in May 2010, Ghost was already dead, but Mike insisted that Ghost had acted as his accomplice during the shooting. Mike told detectives that after Nusi was killed, he spoke directly with Boosie. In his words, Boosie said, "Ghost told me you all hit that boy. I like that." Portions of these statements were later played in State District Judge Don Johnson's courtroom during a hearing on a motion by Mike's defense attorney to have them suppressed. Despite the accusations, Boosie was never charged in connection with Nusi's murder. Prosecutors argued they lacked proof of direct contact between Boosie and Mike before the shooting, and with Ghost being the one who allegedly passed along Boosie's orders, the state's case couldn't hold. According to Mike's taped statements, both he and Ghost were present the night of the killing, firing shots into the home before Mike put a bullet in Nusi's head. In one account, Mike even described Ghost lifting him up to the window so he could take the shot. He further claimed that Boosie paid Ghost $15,000 for the job, with Ghost later passing $2,000 of that money on to Mike. Marlo Mike later recanted his confession, claiming crooked cops forced it out of him by threatening him with lethal injection and jail time for his mother and stepfather. He said interrogators also told him Boosie had put a $25,000 bounty on his head. In court, prosecutors dramatically forced him to show the jury his tattoo, an AK-47 with the words "Yo, Boosie." Who's next, even though they already had enlarged photos of it. Police Sergeant Chris Johnson denied ever threatening Mike, but defense attorneys argued only a fraction of the long interrogations from May 2010 were taped, and only the confession was recorded. On camera, Mike could be seen exclaiming, "That dude want to kill me? He's getting out now?" Mike was soon identified as the common denominator in 5 separate shootings that left 6 people dead. He was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Terry Boyd, Nusi, Marcus Thomas, and Charles Matthews, along with Daryl Bleak Milton, plus second-degree murder in the killing of Michael Smith. At 16 during 2 of those murders, he was too young for the death penalty. As his attorney put it, "He's a kid." The prosecutor countered, "He's an adult in the eyes of the law."
See, y'all be taking this shit too far, thinking about just because y'all young, y'all won't get that death penalty shit. Yeah, do some funky shit and see. Them motherfuckers don't give a fuck who you is, unless you're a white kid. That shit won't happen. If you like a black kid thinking this shit, it's just gonna slip away because you're a child or you're just a kid whatsoever. Nigga, they don't give a fuck. You're gone. Like, seriously, you're gone. Bro.
At the very start of 2010, Michael "Ghost" Judson was murdered, marking the first homicide of the year in Baton Rouge. The shooting occurred within the first 30 minutes of the new year on the 3300 block of Charles Street near Acadian. Ghost, 22, was shot multiple times and later died at a hospital. Police could not determine a motive, though they suggested a possible argument prior to the shooting, and no suspect was ever identified. Witnesses nearby initially thought the gunshots were firecrackers. Ghost's mother, Zell Reese Judson, remained in shock hours after receiving the news. He was the kind of kid that always did what I asked. He had a lot of friends, she said. Michael was the seed of my life. When they took Michael, they took everything. I wish my child was here. She added that healing would take time, but she would.
The mothers after that, they don't keep their eyes closed so that, like on their kids, bro. That's the problem. And then just because that little time that he be passing, he or she be passing by you, whatever you ask them to do, they do. And them little friends, talking about all them friends that he had, them little friends that had got him where he is at, like literally where he's at today. Because if you as the mother, if you was watching who your child was hanging around with, your child would could have possibly still be breathing, or could have lived longer. Put it like that.
Never rest until justice was served. Ghost had just celebrated his birthday a few weeks earlier. Another victim tied to Marlo Mike was Marcus Gangsta Thomas, who was fatally shot while driving his SUV in the 600 block of West McKinley Street near Nicholson Drive. Investigators determined that 3 different guns were fired into Marcus' vehicle. Though he wasn't alone, the passenger with him escaped unharmed and refused to cooperate with police. Mike admitted his role in the killing, saying he was one of the shooters. He described being in a car with Ghost and another associate when they spotted Marcus driving. The group pulled alongside him, and all 3 opened fire, Mike behind the wheel, Ghost, and the third man unleashing rounds. According to statements, Boosie had allegedly hired Ghost to carry out the hit after Marcus robbed him, even snatching a chain off his neck in front of his daughter, something Boosie never forgot. Not long after, on February 22nd, 2010, another shooting took place in the 5000 block of Tiago Street. The target was Noki, but instead his girlfriend, Malika Halbert, was struck while sitting in her kitchen.
Yeah, that was the day before my birthday. That's some crazy shit. That's some crazy shit. What?
Just before midnight. She survived after being hit in the back. Noki was inside the house at the time, and investigators believed he was the intended victim. Less than 2 weeks later, on March 6th, the same residence was hit again, this time with Eddie Stewart and Ryan Carroll alongside Noki. Then, less than a month later, both Noki and Daryl Bleak Milton were killed in a separate shooting. Ballistics linked shell casings from all 3 incidents together, tying them directly to the same circle of shooters. Police later alleged that the hit on Noki had been ordered by Reginald Youngblood.
Alright guys, we gonna stop right here. We're gonna give a little bit of our opinion because this is crazy, bro. But all of this really leads to, if you really pay attention, it's like if only their parents did better. Like only their parents watch who their kids was hanging. Be on your kid's ass. I know it ain't that hard. I be on my siblings' ass like I'm the parent. I know sometimes it might feel like it's a little hard and stressful, but it's gonna be a time where you're gonna see that all of that stress paid off. You rather do all that, all the pay, stress all that time teaching them, even if you got to do that. Chancletas, go ahead. Chinelo, whatever, go ahead.
What are you doing? What are you?
We have to put the education on over here. Because sometimes if you just put it over here and you don't like consistently like check them on it, it's just gonna go over here and then leave from over there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say that because it used to be like that with me. I used to get my ass whooped. In my country, I used to get my ass whooped. So I was able to be the girl I am today because I'm not gonna lie, out of all my siblings, I'm different. because all of them ass whooping. Yeah. But yeah, we gon' this gonna be all for today, guys. Cause this I really can't watch this whole thing today because it is just sad. Like watching it, I was just speechless. I had a lot of things to say, but sometimes I can't let my mind say everything it got to say because I know not everybody agrees with what other people got to say. And at the end of the day, I don't really know if this shit is true or not. And yeah, if you guys would like a part 2, like and subscribe. And you know, leave a girl a little thumbs up or something, But yeah, guys, bye bye.